Unplanned, the controversial new anti-abortion film is facing some new problems despite its major debut at the box office.
Can you even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis.
All right, so the film's Twitter account says it is not trending on Twitter despite getting 200,000 followers in 36 hours. It also claims that thousands of fans are being unfollowed on Twitter. Several major TV networks refused to air ads for this R-rated film ahead of its release. The film raking in over $6 million, doubling the box office predictions for its opening weekend. Unplanned, based on a true story about a Planned Parenthood director who resigns to become a pro-life activist. Actress Ashley Bratcher, who stars in the film, is going to be on Fox and Friends at about 7 a.m. But they're having big issues with Twitter this morning, and it may be political. We'll talk more about that at 7 o'clock.
Well, this Democratic socialist will be on newsstands across the country today. Yes, we're talking about New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is Time magazine's newest cover girl. Time describing the 29-year-old as the phenom and America's lightning rod, with far-left ideas that are shaking up Washington. Right now, Ocasio-Cortez is facing major backlash for comparing the impact of climate change to 9/11 while pushing her Green New Deal. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk says those ideas shouldn't be celebrated because they threaten to undo every bit of success we've seen under the Trump administration.
In some ways, it was predictable. She's the anti-Trump. I mean, she's constantly wrong, but never in doubt. And she has radical policies that would undo every piece of success that Trump, the Trump administration has accomplished and achieved in the last 2 years. In some ways, some people say, oh, she's a good thing for Republicans. I get that argument. But in other ways, we have to be brutally honest and say that these ideas are really dangerous.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's nothing funny about a $100 trillion takeover of the American economy. There's nothing funny about saying, America's not an exceptional country. There's nothing funny about that. And so, yes, it's easy to poke fun at her, and we should. We're both in our 20s, and so I guess we're within a couple of years of each other, so something tells me I'm going to be going up against AOC in the intellectual debate for many, many years now. And it's quite scary, to be perfectly honest with you. These ideas should be taken with unbelievable seriousness.
So what do you think? Do you think Democrats should be making Ocasio-Cortez their poster child? Tell us what you think on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Fox and Friends First.
All right, restricting gun sales cost Dick's Sporting Goods $150 million, but the company is still standing by that decision.
Tracy Carrasco from our sister network Fox Business joins us now to explain. Hey, Tracy.
Good morning. Yes, last February, Dick's Sporting Goods announced that it would be restricting gun sales following the Parkland, Florida school shooting. Now, according to Bloomberg, that policy change costing the company about $150 million in lost sales last year. That's equivalent to about 1.7% of annual revenue. Sales, though, could take an even bigger hit. Just last month, Dick's announced that they would be eliminating gun sales and hunting equipment at about 125 of its 700 stores. Although I want to mention the stock price. The stock price hasn't moved much since that February announcement, although it has gone up about 13% or so. So investors not too concerned about that, but obviously customers, those who are shopping in the store, not reacting well to that policy
That's
change.
Interesting. All right. Taco Bell lovers rejoice, right?
Yes, Taco Bell lovers giving away some free drinks starting today through April 3rd. You can get a free small Pepsi Zero Sugar or a Mountain Dew Baja Blast Zero Sugar with any mobile or online pickup. But I want to mention this deal from the Cheesecake Factory. Starting today, they're teaming up with DoorDash to give away $250,000 worth of free food. This is not an April Fool's joke. The first 10,000 DoorDash customers log on to the cheesecakefactory.com/promo. You'll get a $25 reward to use on any Cheesecake Factory delivery order today through April 7th. So that promo starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time. You've got to be quick to take advantage of this one.
Man, Cheesecake Factory cheesecake. It's been a while.
Thanks.
Today could be the day.
That's good stuff. Tracy, thanks.
It is about almost 6 minutes until the top of the hour. Chick-fil-A banned at a second U.S. airport, and many customers are not happy. We're sharing some of your comments.
And move over Green New Deal, the new invention designed to potty train cows to save the planet.
Okay.
All right.
Its wings clipped at a second airport. Buffalo Niagara International Airport in New York nixing plans for a new location following backlash about the company's alleged ties to anti-LGBTQ organizations. Last month, San Antonio's city council voted to exclude Chick-fil-A from its airport. Texas is investigating whether the move was against the law. Chick-fil-A insists it has no political agenda and does not discriminate. So we asked if you think cities are taking it too far by banning Chick-fil-A. Jacob on Facebook writes, this is the 1% controlling the 99%. David on Facebook says Chick-fil-A absolutely has the freedom to support or not support the people and causes they believe in. These airports also have that right. And Kurt tweets, how about we ban all fast food at all airports? We all know their markups are so ridiculous that even loan sharks get embarrassed. Thanks to all who responded. Keep those comments coming.
All right, New York expected to become the second state to ban plastic bags. Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo says he'll approve the measure in his 2020 budget plan. Starting next year, customers will need to pay 5 cents if they want a single-use stick delivered. And finally, the ugly. This could be perfect for the Green New Deal. A Dutch inventor has come up with new cow toilets. He's currently testing the idea on a
Monday, April 1st, and we begin with a Fox News alert. President Trump says he may shut down the U.S.-Mexico border as soon as today.
And Mexico seems to show that they've got the message, but is their last-ditch effort enough to curb this migrant situation we have at our southern border? We're live in Washington.
Chicago police are protesting as tensions continue to simmer over the Jussie Smollett case.
And before he hits the streets, one of those officers joins us live with his message to the Cook County Prosecutor's Office. And this is not an April Fool's Day joke.
It's taken over the fashion world. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Okay. Glad we agree on that.
Merry Christmas. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And I'm Jillian Muley. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. Let's get straight to this Fox News alert. Today, President Trump could shut down the U.S.-Mexico border as illegal immigrants surge into our country.
Griff Jenkins joins us live from Washington with more on the White House strategy and Mexico intending to help. Hey, Griff.
Hey, Rob and Jillian. Yeah, the president not bluffing, according to White House advisor Kellyanne Conway, who says President Trump is dead serious about closing the border.
It certainly isn't a bluff. You can take the president seriously, and here's why. You're giving those metrics. What he's looking at is that 4,000 migrants apprehended in one day recently. We're on track this month for close to 100,000. We have never seen a surge like this.
When it comes to the current numbers, according to BP officials last night, in just the Rio Grande Valley sector alone, for the past 9 straight days, they have seen more than 1,000 plus apprehensions per day. But closing the border could have a heavy economic impact. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce warning it could tank markets and endanger $1.7 billion of daily cross-border goods trade with Mexico, and some Democrats want to avoid that.
The idea of just using bluster and statements and we're going to close down the border, we're going to cut off the aid, that's not going to do anything. Let's work together, Democrats and Republicans. There are a lot of us who want to do it, to work together to actually address this problem once and for all.
This as the president is cutting aid to the tune of $500 million to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. You see there, they're known as the Northern Triangle countries, where a majority of these migrants are coming from. And it's as Mexican officials say they plan to revamp their humanitarian visa program for approximately 2,500 migrants in southern Mexico on a limited basis starting today. That program was shut down earlier this year due to overwhelming numbers. It's going to happen down in Chiapas, where we have been and covered so many of the crossings. And it's also coming, guys, as CBP says that 40% of their agents are being diverted away from the actual border security mission to care for these overwhelming number of family units and unaccompanied children.
Yeah, it's a tremendous surge lately. Griff, thank you so much.
A well-known rapper is shot dead in broad daylight in Los Angeles. Grammy-nominated Nipsey Hussle was one of 3 people shot outside a clothing store, which he reportedly owned. The shooter is still on the run. 2 others were rushed to the hospital. The rapper claimed to be a gang member on his Facebook page. A young ISIS fighter is executed by the terror group after being accused of spying. The baby-faced jihadist known as Osama bin Bieber is believed to be the first British ISIS fighter killed by the extremists for spying. ISIS officials reportedly told British media he was put to death after revealing the location of a high-ranking ISIS official.
All right, electricity will be rationed for the next month in Venezuela. Disputed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announcing the planned power cuts to address the ongoing blackouts throughout that country. Maduro blames those outages on U.S.-led sabotage since President Trump supports the opposition leader there, Juan Guaido. Guaido says the crippling blackouts are the result of years of government neglect and corruption. The mess continues in Venezuela. Today, Chicago police officers will protest outside the prosecutor's office in Cook County in the wake of the Jussie Smollett case. The department demanding the FBI intervene following Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx's decision to dismiss all 16 felony charges. The Empire actor is accused of faking a racist hate crime against himself in January. Reverend Jesse Jackson and others are planning a rally in support of Kim Foxx today.
The wife of former Defense Secretary Ash Carter setting the record straight about this 2015 picture of her and former Vice President Joe Biden. Stephanie Carter says the photo is misleading, writing, quote, "The Joe Biden in my picture is a close friend, helping someone get through a big day, for which I will always be grateful." It comes as a former Nevada Assemblywoman accuses Biden of inappropriately touching her during a rally back in 2014. That woman speaking out about the encounter.
I want him to acknowledge that it was wrong. Part of the reason why I decided to finally say something is because those behaviors were not being taken very seriously. They were not being considered from the perspective of the woman on the other side of that power dynamic.
Lucy Flores says Biden grabbed her shoulders, smelled her hair, and kissed the back of her head. Biden, a potential 2020 contender, released a statement saying he's offered countless expressions of affection in public life, saying, quote, "Never did I believe I acted inappropriately. If it is suggested I did so, I will listen respectfully."
So obviously the misconduct claims are against Joe Biden are posing a challenge to his 2020 prospects.
Kellyanne Conway says you wouldn't know that based on the way the media has been covering it. Listen to this.
Joe Biden's intent is only partly or maybe not at all relevant here. It's really how that woman felt. She feels that it was unwelcomed, and she's coming forward with it because she doesn't want, I suppose she doesn't want this man to continue advance in public life. Joe Biden this week was apologizing to Anita Hill for his role in the Clarence Thomas hearings.
You're going to have plenty of time to go after him on other issues.
Why didn't he apologize to Lucy? Why didn't he apologize to this woman? Why didn't he do that? They never apologized to the individual. And I think the way the media covered everything from collusion to Kavanaugh to the Covington kids means they ought to be able to cover issues like this with the same kind of vigor.
All right, Biden's trouble is the latest in a recent string of misconduct claims against Democrats. Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is still on the job after he was accused of sexual assault back in February.
A bit chillier here in the Northeast on this Monday. A little bit.
A little bit. But boy, what a weekend, huh? We had some nice weather on Saturday, Janice. You delivered, and we appreciate it.
And then what happened Sunday?
And then it rained and my parents in Indiana got a killer snowstorm.
A lot of snow, yes.
They were like, what is this?
Yep, and we still have snow across portions of the Great Lakes and parts of the Midwest. And then look, we have freeze advisories as far south as the Tennessee River Valley, where it is 37 in Memphis, it's 26 in Cincinnati, 26 in Chicago. Is spring happening? It will, but for now, we're still stuck in winter for at least a day. Okay, let's take a look at the radar. We do have a frontal boundary across the Gulf Coast we're going to watch, but look, we have snow across the panhandle of Texas. Still a little bit of snow moving into portions of Wisconsin and Illinois and the Great Lakes in towards the interior Northeast. We're watching this developing area of low pressure that could be a bigger event if it moves a little bit closer to shore, but right now we think it's just going to kind of hug the shoreline. We could get a little bit of rain, maybe a little bit of snow out of this, but thankfully it's not going to really affect much of the country, or at least the East Coast. We are going to be dealing with, however, some heavy rain across areas that have already been flooded over the last couple of weeks across Nebraska and Iowa and Wisconsin and Kansas. So we're going to watch for that, unfortunately.
You said this was going to be a problem for weeks.
Are unreal out of the Plain States and the Midwest, unfortunately, of flooding.
All right.
Yeah.
Janice, thank you so much for staying on top of it.
Yep.
All right, cancer not taking this cowboy down. NFL Hall of Famer Michael Irvin getting a clean bill of health after undergoing tests.
The football superstar posting on Instagram, quote, "I spoke with Dr. St. John at UCLA Medical, and she has informed me that all tests have come back 100% clean."
Irvin was tested for throat cancer, which killed his father.
All right, let's talk about March Madness now, where shocking upsets set the stage for the Final Four.
If you're Duke, once he gives it up, face guard, and don't overhelp. Open look,
Oh, man, Michigan State getting a clutch three-pointer with under a minute left. The Spartans take down top overall seed Duke 68-67.
Great game. Another great one here. Auburn heading to their first ever Final Four. They beat Kentucky 77-71 in overtime. Fantastic basketball. The Tigers will take on Virginia. Michigan State will take on Texas Tech. The Final Four tips off on Saturday night. Fun time of the year.
Yes, it is.
Some good basketball. 10 minutes after the hour, the surge of migrants at our southern border is so dramatic at this point, even former Obama administration officials are calling this a crisis.
By anyone's definition, by any measure, right now we have a crisis at our southern border.
Huge statement from Jeh Johnson there. What will it take to get 2020 Democratic hopefuls focused on fixing this, and Democrats in general? Our next guest says for them, it all comes down to votes.
And Dick's Sporting Goods taking a stand against selling guns. How that move backfired big time on their bottom line.
A prime example of what a total failure Donald Trump has been on the issue of immigration.
So we need a humane policy at the border in which we are not yanking tiny children from the arms of their mothers.
We are safe because we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers.
So the 2020 Dems continue to challenge President Trump's immigration policies as this situation at our southern border is really getting bad.
Even after a stunning about-face from former Homeland Security Secretary under Obama, Jeh Johnson. So what will it take for the left to finally admit there's a crisis? Here to discuss is former Nevada GOP Chair Amy Tarkanian. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I want to get your reaction to what Jeh Johnson had to say. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
By anyone's definition, by any measure, right now we have a crisis at our southern border. According to the commissioner of CBP, there were 4,000 apprehensions in one day alone this past week, and we're on pace for 100,000 apprehensions on our southern border this month. That is by far a greater number than anything I saw on my watch in my 3 years as Secretary of Homeland Security.
Do you think the Democrats liked hearing that?
Well, too bad. Whether if they do, whether if they don't. You know, thank goodness that finally somebody is speaking the truth. The president has brilliantly held 2 press conferences already with the experts, with Border Patrol agents, with angel moms and dads, and they have pleaded and begged to the public and to the members of the House that, you know, they need assistance, financial assistance. They need more bodies at the border. I actually just recently testified last Friday here in the state of Nevada against Assembly Bill 281, which would make our state a sanctuary state. That's something that most Nevadans that I'm well aware of are not in favor of.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder at this point when people see a number like maybe 1 million in a year, what percentage of people are okay with that many people coming into the country?
There's not. And I recently had a friend who was originally from Mexico, and she worked so hard for so many years to become a citizen. She just became a citizen last week, and we were so proud of her. And it makes her livid when she sees that there are illegal immigrants that are getting away with so many things. It blows us away. And the fact, too, that we have legislators here in the state of Nevada that are actually considering turning our wonderful state into a sanctuary state is also mind-blowing. We recently had 4 people in northern Nevada that were murdered by an illegal immigrant, and we found out he'd actually had a criminal record. Why? Why is this happening? You know, one person is too many.
Let's take a look at some numbers here, border security numbers specifically. And you're talking about more than 53,000 apprehensions on average per month in fiscal year 2019. More than 4,000 apprehended, as you can see, their encounters last Tuesday alone. What do you think it's going to take for people to wake up? These numbers aren't getting any better.
they aren't getting any better. And unfortunately, we have a very polarized political atmosphere where you've got the left that they're going to be kicking and screaming against anything that the president brings forward, even if it's against the safety of the citizens of our country, it seems. You have the Democrats who for years have played identity politics and have used Hispanics as a voting bloc. Hispanics, for the most part, they are pro-life, they are pro-business, they are pro-family. And once they realize that the Democrats are using them, I would hope that they start to vote Republican.
Yeah, there are so many issues that need to be addressed. Both sides say they want to work on the border. They just have completely different ideas about what that's going to look like, and that is the problem. Amy, thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
It is 18 minutes after the hour now. 2 brothers wounded while fighting for our freedoms, honored on the baseball diamond.
It's tough, but just let him know that we're out there and we support him, and whatever he needs, we'll be there.
Their story of courage and the special moment they shared on the pitcher's mound.
Yeah. And backlash building, the brand new ban for Chick-fil-A as the fast food chain is accused of pushing a political agenda. Stay tuned.
Good Monday morning to you. Welcome back. A look at our top headlines that we're following this morning, starting with a Fox News alert. President Trump could shut down the U.S.-Mexico border as soon as today amid an unprecedented surge of illegal crossings. Mexico is now stepping in to stop the influx by busing migrants back to Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. A young ISIS fighter executed by the terror group after being accused of spying. The baby-faced jihadist known as Osama bin Bieber is believed to be the first British ISIS fighter killed by the extremists. He reportedly revealed the location of a high-ranking ISIS official. And today, Chicago police officers are protesting outside the prosecutor's office in response to the Jussie Smollett case. The department is demanding the FBI intervene following Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx's decision to dismiss all 16 felony charges against the Empire actor, accused of staging a hate crime against himself. Chilling new video shows a college student climbing into a car she thought was her Uber, only to be murdered soon after. Samantha Josephson's family now sending a serious warning to everyone who uses ride-sharing apps. Aisha Husney is here with their message. This is a terrifying story, Aisha.
Yeah, it is absolutely so scary for anyone who uses a ride-sharing app, but Samantha's parents are hoping it gets your attention and prevents your child from making a deadly mistake. Now, this is surveillance video right here showing Samantha leaving a Columbia bar and getting into a black Chevy Impala. Now, police believe she mistakenly thought it was her Uber. Tragically, her body was found later that day in a rural area with numerous wounds. Her parents and boyfriend are devastated.
She truly was the love of my life. Man, I saw such a clear future with her.
So police have arrested this man here, the owner of that car, 24-year-old Nathaniel David Rowland. He's charged with kidnapping and murder. Police say he activated the child locks in his back seat so Samantha wouldn't be able to open her door. Last night at a vigil, Samantha's parents pleaded for people to be careful when they're using a ride-sharing service.
You guys have to travel together. If there's somebody else in the car, there's actually a chance. And I don't want anybody else to ever go through this again. I can't tell you how painful this is.
Yeah, some safety tips to keep in mind. Check the license plate, the make and model of that car before you get in. And by the way, that suspect didn't even show up at his jail hearing. Right now, he's still in jail, at least until his bond hearing. Rob?
Just a terrible story.
Yeah, scary.
Aisha, yeah, it is. Thank you so much. All right, back to politics now. 2020 Democratic candidates sounding off on new accusations against former Vice President Joe Biden.
I believe Lucy Flores.
I have no reason not to believe her.
I believe Lucy Flores. We need to live in a nation where people can hear her truth.
I have no reason not to believe Lucy. I'm not sure that one incident alone disqualifies anybody.
All right, so Bernie Sanders there saying that one incident might not disqualify Joe Biden from being able to be the president of the United States. But Sanders came out pretty tough, along with the other Democrats, against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, saying that he should be disqualified immediately, that an investigation had to happen. So is there a double standard here on the response to these two different cases? Here to debate that, senior writer at the Heritage Foundation, Kelsey Bolar, and Democratic strategist Spencer Critchley. Guys, thanks so much for getting up early with us today. Kelsey, we'll start with you. Do you see a double standard here at this point after the weekend?
I do, and I don't think this is a unique case where there is a double standard among Democrats when it comes to the Me Too movement. They constantly want to hashtag believe all women when it is politically convenient for them to do so, but in cases like Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, where it's not so easy for them to believe all women, they cast those concerns aside, and he's still sitting in office.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Spencer, when we look at this, the story here, what Joe Biden is accused of doing doesn't reach the levels of other sexual assault cases that have been more publicly viewed here in this country. But, you know, this is another Democrat, so there's not really a political aspect to this. Is this pretty damning for Joe Biden?
I think it's way too soon to tell, and I agree with you that based on what we know so far, although we do need to listen to Lucy Flores, like we do need to make sure we listen to all women who have reports like this, I think it's way too soon to tell just how serious this is. And I disagree that there's a double standard evident here. I think that most Democrats have been fairly consistent about this, which is that two things can be true at the same time. One, that unlike through history until very recently, we do need to listen to women. And two, at the same time, we need to follow due process, which has served us so well through our entire history. And I think that's basically what we're hearing from Bernie here, and what I hope we'll hear from all Democrats and from everybody.
Let me stay with you just for a second. Bernie's saying that just one incident shouldn't disqualify you. I would imagine that would anger a lot of women. Just one incident shouldn't disqualify you from being the president of the United States.
Yeah, I think that if you check out what Bernie said in its full context, he started off by saying it's very important that we listen to Lucy Flores, as the other Democratic candidates you played have been saying. And he said that this is something that both Democrats and Republicans, all of us, need to take seriously, especially because of the history behind it when women were so often dismissed and silenced in cases like this. But he's also saying something that I hope we can all support, which is that we need to learn more.
Right. Yeah, Kelsey, back to you. You know, when Kavanaugh was going through all of this in the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and there was so much rage, when one of the women, it was found to be it was pretty certain that she was making up the story. It didn't stop Democrats from still saying that all these women need to be believed. And that was just an interesting thing to hear. What did you make of that?
And it's interesting to hear Spencer now concerned about issues of due process. I would argue this is what conservatives have been raising all throughout these conversations involving Me Too, where we do need to wait for facts and investigations to come out. I'd say this Joe Biden allegation is different because there's video after video, picture after picture of him being incredibly handsy with women who clearly did not grant him permission to do so. That said, these are not allegations of any sort of sexual assault or anything worse. So we do need to take each allegation separately on its own. That's what conservatives have long been advocating for. But it's good to hear that Joe Biden is finally ready to listen to women, because this is behavior that he's been conducting all throughout his career.
Yeah. And then you have Bernie Sanders' campaign had some issues with this as well. It's a tricky subject, guys. We appreciate your time this morning. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 37 minutes after the hour, she went viral for complaining about being fed beans as she made her journey through Mexico. Now this migrant is going to be eating prison food. The reason that she was just hauled away in handcuffs. Stay tuned for that. And millions of Americans not getting enough sleep, and it could be killing us. Boy, do we know that story. A sleep expert will join us with some tips on how to maximize your shut-eye. Stay tuned.
Good morning to you and welcome back. So how about this story? A caravan migrant from a viral video is now locked up on assault charges. In the video, she complains about only having beans to eat as she travels to the border. Well, now she's behind bars in Texas, charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Her sister was also reportedly arrested after the two allegedly beat another woman who gave them a place to stay.
Yikes. All right, another horse dies at a California racetrack 2 days after it reopens. That's now 23 horses that have died at Santa Anita since December. A 5-year-old gelding fell during a race yesterday, injuring his right front leg, had to be euthanized. Officials did extensive testing on the dirt course during the month it was closed, but did not find anything that might explain this. Workouts continue today. Racing resumes on Thursday out in California. All right, Americans are not getting enough sleep, and it's hurting our health.
A new study suggests not getting enough shut-eye may actually be killing us.
Here to give us some tips on getting more sleep and staying asleep is sleep medicine specialist Dr. Carol Ash. What better topic at 4:42 in the morning here on the East Coast than to talk about the fact that we can't sleep?
Yeah.
So, how bad is this problem?
It is a problem. You know, 40%, that's 120 million Americans.
Wow.
And, before we can even talk about solving it, we have to ask why. There are unrecognized and poorly treated sleep disorders. 25 million Americans with sleep apnea, which is a breathing disorder. It can be lethal. And there's some simple things. Just losing 10% of your body weight can get rid of snoring and the problem, get you to sleep at night. And another 30 million people with insomnia. And there's online behavioral programs called CBTI that could solve the problem.
So let's take a look at some of your tips for better sleep and dive into them a little bit. You say go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, which I know is a problem for many people, especially shift workers. That includes weekends. Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, comfortable, at a temperature with no electronics. Avoid large meals, caffeine and alcohol, and get some exercise. I'm curious what you think about something like a noise machine. Like I use one of those sometimes if I'm hearing noises and stuff because I have to go to bed early, and a lot of people are like that.
Those things can be really great. One of the things we need to understand about sleep is changing the perspective, because sleep can alter your self-control, so you'll make bad choices and continue with bad behaviors. So noise machines, those are great for changing the environment. And that's the one thing that studies show will change your sleep, changing the environment. So noise machines, there's other things you can do. Put in room darkening shades. You want to, like you suggested, keep the room cool. Most people sleep in a very cool environment. It's reduplicating what the night would be, right? It's warmer during the day, cooler at night. So the temperature is 65 to 75 degrees. And the right temperature is unique to you.
Yeah, I freeze the room when I go to bed. I love it. You look at this country versus the rest of the world. We work so much harder than the rest of the world. I think the stress levels here are getting worse and worse and worse. That's got to be leading to this problem in so many ways. People are just busy and stressed out.
It's a big factor. Yeah. But, we're starting to realize, even in business, that $60 billion a year is lost because of lack of sleep. So it is a real problem. So businesses that are smart are starting to put in nap rooms. Just a quick nap. Yeah. 20 minutes can really re-energize you and make you much more productive.
How do you get the brain to shut off? Like, you talk about stress and you talk about all of a sudden you lay down to go to bed and you're going through the list of things you have to do, and, it gets you.
Well, what I tell my patients to do is just first declutter the room. Don't bring all of your day into that bedroom. It's just a reminder of all the busy things and our life and the stress. But you can start with your toes and just relaxing the muscles and going all the way up to your face. If you think about it for a second, your face is more tense right now than you realize. And your brain is looking for cues to know it's safe to relax and drift off into sleep. So that simple relaxation method, or just slowing down your breathing. You can't be in fight and flight and rest at the same time. So slowing down your breathing can actually trick your brain into thinking it's time to drift off to sleep and shutting down your mind.
People's minds are too busy. Some of the dumbest guys I know sleep like rocks. I mean, the moment they hit the pillow, they're out. It's incredible to watch. I mean, they're snoring in 10 seconds. Ignorance is bliss.
Good program.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. 45 minutes after the hour, Dick's Sporting Goods taking a stand against selling guns. How that move backfired big time on their bottom line.
Oh, sure. Help yourself. The video that'll make you think twice before you order dinner to be delivered. Stay right there.